Yes, that's me. I'm Ted Pooley, right enough. I played my youthful cricket on Richmond Green. We bet £half a crown each game and I was champion of the local schoolboys. I was originally chosen for Surrey as a right-arm bowler, but Lord bless you, governor, I knew little about it. But of course I could get a few runs and fielded very well at long leg. My introduction to wicket-keeping would be about the year 1863. Have you seen my hands? They were straight enough when I started, but they very soon went wrong. My reward, I suppose, for doing my best. How I miss the old days. There were some grand players back then, let me tell you. A while ago, a few of us old cronies were at Lord's together, exchanging opinions as to the merits of past and present day cricket. We were all of the view that it was not as good as it used to be. I mean, just look at the portrait of Tom Richardson. The position in which he holds the ball would not have been allowed under the old round arm system. But then times change, don't they? And bowling, like a good many other things, changes with them. There was more comradeship among the pros of my time than there is today. We were a hail fellow, well-met, jolly lot of chaps, nearly all gone now. In 1868 I was one of Wilshire's team, the one that went to America. George Freeman and I had bunks in the same cabin, and were very ill on the journey over, but even I had to laugh when he moaned out in the throes of seasickness.
"Oh, Ted, what an ass I must be. As if I could not get plenty of cricket in Yorkshire without coming out on a sea like this."
Joe Rowbotham was just the opposite. No matter how ill everyone else was, he never missed a meal, and stuck so well to everything he ate that we nicknamed him Old Tarpot. I was also a member of the 4th English team which went to Australia and New Zealand in 1876-77. On arriving in Melbourne, I was very much taken with the courtesy of the mayor, and also with the size of the town hall, which would, now I think of it, be a very fine place for winter cricket. In Christchurch, however, it was a very different story. A resident of the city, a Mr. Donkin, had laid me £6 to £1 that I could not predict the individual scores of the local 18. In every instance, the number I chose was 0, a duck's egg. Ultimately, we won the match and I the bet, £50. That night, at the hotel bar, I approached Mr. Donkin for the money. The bugger ran away, but I followed him into the street and gave him a light touch on the arm and asked him again for the money. At this, immediately, he turned around and struck me violently on the face and then over the head 2 or 3 times with the knob of his walking stick. In self-defence, I rushed in and closed with him and knocked him down, and the other English players came to my assistance. A regular melee ensued. When it was over and I had calmed down, I began to feel sorry about it all. Sorry for having hit him, and even more sorry at the thought that the news of my behaviour should reach the old country. I went to his bedroom to make it up, to shake hands with him, maybe even share a bottle. I truly believe that if he had only shouted me a bottle of champagne, the whole thing would have been all right. But Donkin was an old fool. He refused even to shake my hand. He was the bloody worst. He did not sleep at the hotel that night. If he had, he would have found himself half dead by the end of it. When I went to confront him in the morning, I heard that someone had been trying to break open the door to his room. I suppose this must have been some of my teammates trying to secure payment on my behalf. I confirmed later that 2 of them, both now dead, had done a great injury to his belongings. But I was arrested, detained and put on trial. My plea was not guilty. I knew nothing of the matter and had nothing to say about it to the magistrate. Ultimately I was acquitted, and the decision gave so much local satisfaction that a purse of 50 guineas was subscribed for me and a watch and chain presented to me, and I was driven round the town like a conquering hero. After my retirement from cricket, I became a coach at the Westminster School. I also worked for the musical theatre and as a check taker at the Tivoli Theatre. In September 1890, however, I was laid up with rheumatic fever and obliged to seek the relief of my parish. They kindly sent me down to Bath, where I became an inmate of the Royal Mineral Water Hospital. 3 years later, when I found myself unable to discharge my umpiring duties, the Surrey Club put me on a pension of 15 shillings a week. Now, how did they expect me to keep myself on this? I don't know. But when they discovered I had that berth at the Tivoli, they knocked off even that meagre allowance. In 1897 I grew very ill indeed and went into Charing Cross Hospital. The doctors said it was no wonder I was suffering. I had the rheumatic fever about as bad as any man could have it. So I was put to bed at once and stayed at Charing Cross for 4 or 5 months. The doctors didn't think I should come out alive. But old Ted Pooley is tough. I got round and was discharged and thought I was better. But immediately after this I suffered an attack of influenza which struck me down again and left me very, very weak. Once more I was ordered to bed, where I remained some time longer, and while in this state met with an accident to my back which compelled me to retire to the Marylebone Infirmary. By the time I left I was utterly penniless. For about a year I had been unable to work. Now I couldn't afford a couple of postage stamps. I couldn't sponge on my friends, nor could I become a burden to my relatives, so I spent a night in the streets, deliberating. What was the use of an old man, aged 60, going on 61, wandering about like that? There was nothing for it. It was the workhouse or the river. I'm thankful now that I sought the relief of the poor law. I applied at Lambeth Workhouse, where I must say they treated me very well. My case got into the papers, and a subscription was made up for me. I left the workhouse, or was taken out of it, on December 31, 1898, and looked forward to the coming cricket season with all the enthusiasm of a boy. But in November, I found myself before the Lambeth Guardians once again. And here I am still. It's a sad state of affairs, but I'm as comfortable as rooms and workhouse regulations permit. The main trouble is in my fingers, which are more distorted than ever. They often ache first thing in the morning, and of course I'm not so nimble on my pins as I used to be. Recently some of the daily papers discovered that I had died of cancer of the liver at Brighton, giving me the satisfaction of reading my obituary notice, a piece of luck given to very few men. But I don't feel very lucky. When a journo came round to confirm the intelligence, I urged him to contradict it, otherwise I should fall entirely from the knowledge of my old friends. I'm out of the world here, you see, and can only smoke my pipe and dream of better days. I've had my faults, I admit it, and I may have been a bit to blame,